Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I'm Dr. Neeti Goyal from Indira Gandhi National College, Kurukshetra. Today we are going to discuss about a module Authority and Responsibility under the paper Principles and Practices of Management. Learning outcome. After completing this module, the students will be able to understand the concept of authority and responsibility, understand the concept of delegation and its elements, understand the concept of accountability and its features, and relationship between authority, responsibility, and accountability. Management is a system of hierarchical relationships, and organizing as one of the functions of management provides a structure to this system. Organizing is the backbone of management. The word organization is also used widely to connote a group of people and the structure of relationships. According to Lewis Allen, organizing refers to the process of identifying and grouping work to be performed, defining and delegating responsibility and authority, and establishing relationships for the purpose of enabling people to work most effectively together in accomplishing objectives. The aforesaid definition of organizing emphasizes upon the fact that defining responsibility, delegating authority, establishing relationship between authority and responsibility are the soul of organizing. Organization constitutes a formal structure with clear responsibility and definite authority. It determines the flow of authority and responsibility. Authority. Authority is the key to managerial functions. It is the right or the power assigned to an executive to achieve certain organizational objectives. Authority is the right to direct others to get things done. Authority is a commanding force binding different individuals. It indicates the power of making decisions, giving orders and instructions to subordinates. For example, a person may be entrusted with authority regarding spending money, to assign work, making day-to-day plans, to issue materials, hiring employees, or order merchandise, etc. Without authority, a manager cannot get the work done through others. According to Henry Fayol, authority is the right to give order and the power to exact obedience. Coons and O'Donnell defines authority as the power to command, to act or not to act in a manner deemed by the possessor of the authority to further enterprise or departmental performance. Authority enables a manager to discharge his responsibilities. If a manager does not have adequate authority, he cannot perform these functions effectively. Authority empowers an individual to take decisions and to command and to exercise control over his subordinates for execution of policies and programs. Authority is a legal power which is possessed by a person from his superior officers and with the help of which he succeeds in getting the things done by his subordinates. Authority makes possible the compliance of the orders, which would merely be words in the absence if authority. Authority flows downwards. Authority is delegated from above but must be accepted from below, that is, by the subordinates. Authority characteristics. The following are the characteristics of authority. First is the legitimacy. Legitimate power is called authority. To be effective, authority should always be legitimate, otherwise it will not be obeyed. Authority is vested to an individual by the virtue of his position in the organization. Second is dominance. An individual or a group which possesses authority exercises dominance over the other. Authority determines superior-subordinate relationship. Authority decreases as one moves down in the hierarchy. Third is accountability. The individual who possesses authority is liable to the superior for fulfilling his obligations for using such authority. Accountability is the most significant characteristic of authority. Accountability ensures performance according to standards. Fourth is authority flows downwards. Authority is a downward flowing concept. The lower we go down in the hierarchy, the lesser is the authority. Higher authority is enjoyed by higher organizational positions. Authority establishes superiority. Fifth is delegation of authority. Authority flows from the higher level to the lower levels. Authority can be delegated to lower levels in the organization for sharing the workload of the superior. But one thing must be noted, that even though authority can be delegated, but the responsibility of performance of obligation always lies with the delegator. Seventh characteristic of authority is the parity of authority and responsibility. Authority should never be assigned without responsibility. Authority and responsibility should go together. Authority must be equal to responsibility. This is also one of the 14 principles of management advocated by Fayol. Authority and responsibility are closely linked. A manager can fulfill his responsibility only if he has adequate authority to perform that task. An employee must be clear about what is expected of him. If authority is greater than responsibility, then this could result in autocratic behavior and misuse of authority. Similarly, if responsibility is greater than authority, then this could result in frustration, as discharge of responsibility is not possible without adequate authority. For example, if a manager has been assigned the responsibility to purchase raw material but has not been given any authority to make the financial commitments regarding the payment of such purchases, this would frustrate the manager, as he could not accomplish the desired goal effectively but would be held answerable for the act which was beyond his authority. Difference between authority and power. Generally, the word power and authority are used interchangeably, but there is a clear-cut difference between the two. Power is a much broader concept than authority. Kuntz et al. Defines power as the ability of individuals or groups to induce or influence the beliefs or actions of other persons or groups. The point of difference between authority and power are as follows. Right to command. Authority is the right to command, whereas power is the ability to command. Second is the right to exercise. Authority arises out of the organizational position, whereas power is exercised by the person. Third difference is positional and legitimate. Authority is the legitimate power. Authority is associated with the position of a person in the organization, but power is not institutional, rather, it is personal. It may be acquired through any means. It may be political, monetary, or because of some personal attributes. Fourth difference is authority increases. Authority is associated with organizational position, so it increases as one goes up in the organizational hierarchy, but it need not be the case with the power. The last difference is authority is a downward concept. Authority is a downward flowing concept, whereas power flows in all directions. Responsibility. Responsibility is the duty to perform an assigned task. Fayol held that authority flows from responsibility. Managers who have been assigned responsibility should also be given adequate authority for the discharge of their obligations. In the words of Theo Heyman, responsibility is the obligation of a subordinate to perform the duty as required by his superior. McFarland defines responsibility as the duties and activities assigned to a position or an executive. Next, we will discuss the features of responsibility. The following are the features of responsibility. First is Responsibility is to assign duty to human beings only. Second is, responsibility is the obligation of a subordinate to properly perform the assigned duty. Third, responsibility arises from superior-subordinate relationship. Fourth is, responsibility flows upwards. A subordinate is always responsible to his superior. Fifth is, responsibility cannot be delegated. It is absolute. Sixth is, the person accepting responsibility is accountable for the performance of assigned duties. And seventh is, it is hard to fulfill responsibility without authority. Difference between authority and responsibility. The first difference is on the basis of meaning. Authority is the right of a superior to give orders and instructions to his subordinates. Responsibility, on the other hand, it is the obligation of a subordinate to perform an assigned task. Second difference is on the basis of flow. Authority flows from top to bottom, while responsibility flows from bottom to top. The third is authority arises from organizational position, while responsibility arises from superior-subordinate relationships. The fourth difference is on the basis of delegation. Authority can be delegated by a superior to his subordinate, but responsibility cannot be delegated. It is absolute. Delegation of authority. There is a wise saying, nothing is impossible if you can delegate. People who know that how and when to delegate can achieve great results. Delegation refers to transfer of duties and responsibilities by a superior to his subordinates along with the requisite authority to accomplish the assigned job. One of the important features of delegation is that although the superior can delegate his authority to the subordinate for accomplishment of desired objectives, but the ultimate responsibility of the task rests with the superior. The superior cannot escape from his responsibility for non-satisfactory performance. The superior is accountable for the performance of his subordinate to his own superiors. E.F.L. Brecht has said, delegation is a process of sharing a few or all the four elements of management process, that is, command, planning, coordination, and control. He also said that delegation is not a question of issuing instructions, but it is bringing down the executive's responsibility and transmission of part or all of it to other persons. A manager alone cannot perform all the work. Delegation enlarges the capacity of a manager through sharing of workload. Without delegation, organization structure becomes useless. Management of organization becomes impossible without delegation. Delegation begins with sharing of responsibilities with the subordinates, along with assigning the requisite authority so that his subordinates can perform the work effectively. The manager charges the subordinate with accountability for the work assigned, and this whole process is known as delegation. Good delegation is about balancing authority, responsibility, and accountability. Merits of delegation. First merit is reduces workload. A manager, by delegating the authority, can reduce his workload. Since he cannot all work by himself, he can delegate the work which can be handled by his subordinates and can concentrate on more important works. Delegation helps in concentrating on more important works. Second is, it trains subordinates for future responsibilities. Delegation also helps in developing the personnel within the organization. It trains them for future responsibilities as they gain experience of work related to higher positions. Third is effective management. Through delegation, a manager can concentrate on more important works and can delegate the routine work to the subordinates. Thus, It reduces the workload and avoids the wastage of time on less important works and concentrate on more important matters. Fourth is it develops increased sense of responsibility. Delegation of authority motivates the subordinates. They feel motivated to know that his abilities are recognized and they are trusted upon by their superiors. This improves his performance. Delegation works as a motivator for employees with higher level needs. Fifth, avoids delay. Delegation helps in taking timely decisions. The superiors can concentrate on more important matters and the less important matters can be handled by the superiors. Thus, the workload of superior gets divided and hence timely decisions could be taken. Next is the basis of management hierarchy. Delegation establishes superior-subordinate relationship, which is the base for hierarchy of managers. Superiors delegate only when they have trust in their subordinates, so delegation improves the relation between superiors and subordinates. Difficulties in delegation. Obstacles or barriers to delegation can be on the part of superiors as well as on the part of subordinates. Now, some of the reasons on the part of superiors in delegating authority include: first is lack of trust on subordinate. A superior may hesitate to delegate under the fear that employees will not be able to perform as efficiently as he himself could. Second is fear of better performance by the subordinate. Sometimes executives hesitate to delegate on account of the fear of losing his authority. The subordinate might be efficient and superior does not delegate fearing that he will perform better than the superior. No executive would like to delegate when he feels that his superior may surpass him. Third is fear of losing control over subordinate. Executives know that once authority is delegated, they will lose the grip over their subordinates and hence hesitate to delegate. Fourth is lack of time. Sometimes the superior is too busy with his day-to-day work that he does not get any time to delegate. Fifth is don't know how to delegate. Delegation becomes difficult when the superior doesn't know the art of delegation. These were the obstacles on part of superior. The obstacles in delegation on part of subordinates include: first is fear of criticism, second is absence of self-confidence, third is difficulty in decision making, fourth is the lack of information, fifth is interference by superiors, sixth is poor superior subordinate relationships, and seventh is the absence of positive incentives. So these were some of the obstacles and part of subordinates. Principles of delegation. The following principles may be considered as essential for effective delegation of authority. First is proper planning. Delegation of authority should be with proper planning. The objectives to be achieved should be very clear along with the plans and functions to achieve those objectives. Only then there can be proper delegation as it would be clear as to what is required to be performed by each and every person and what authority is required to be given. Next is the reward for delivering excellent results. Effective and successful delegation of authority must be rewarded. This will provide a proper environmental climate for fuller delegation and effective assumption of authority. Then, select appropriate subordinate for delegation. The subordinate selected should be capable of handling the authority assigned to him. His skills and qualifications should be appropriate according to the task. This is the purpose of the managerial function of staffing most carefully considered. Maintain parity of authority and responsibility. There should be parity of authority and responsibility. A person cannot be held responsible for performance of certain tasks for which he had inadequate authority. Establish accountability. Along with authority and responsibility, accountability of subordinate should also be established. He should be answerable for the achievement of desired results. For example, a sales manager charged with the responsibility of increasing the sales of the company's products should be given authority to hire competent salesmen, pay wages and incentives, allow concessions within specified limits. The subordinate should be made answerable for proper performance of the duty assigned and for the exercise of the delegated authority. The extent of accountability depends upon the extent of delegated authority and responsibility. He is accountable only to his immediate superior. However, with delegation, superior cannot escape from his responsibility and accountability to his own superior for performance of his subordinate. Thus, responsibility and accountability cannot be delegated. Ensure unity of command. Unity of command ensures that there is only one superior to whom subordinate is accountable. This is necessary to avoid confusion and friction. Maintain adequate communication. There should be free and continuous flow of information between the superior and subordinate so that time to time relevant information may be furnished to him for decision making. No interference with subordinate's authority. The subordinate to whom authority is delegated must feel free to use his authority. He should take it as an opportunity for growth and development rather than as the fear of being punished. However, superior could review progress, mentor, and advise, but should not interfere with the day to day functioning of the subordinate. Delegation process. The first step in delegation is assigning responsibility. The superior assigns responsibility to subordinate, and with this process, delegation starts. The second step is granting authority. The second step, after assigning responsibility, authority is granted to the subordinate so that he could perform his responsibility. And third step is creating accountability. After responsibility and accountability are granted, then accountability of subordinate towards his superior is created. Elements of delegation. There are three elements of delegation. First is responsibility, second is authority, and third is accountability. First element of delegation is responsibility. Responsibility means the obligation of the individual for the work assigned to him. The process of delegation begins when manager passes on some of his duties to his subordinates. After a superior shares some of his duties with the subordinate becomes responsible to him for the work assigned, but the superior also remains responsible for the performance of that work to his own boss. So here we can see that two types of responsibilities have been created. First is the operational responsibility, and second is the ultimate responsibility. Operational responsibility is the responsibility of delegatee, that is, the subordinate to his own superior. And ultimate responsibility, it is the responsibility of the superior to his own boss for the achievement of the goals. In this case, if the subordinate to whom responsibility has been delegated could not perform his obligation, then the superior cannot escape from his responsibility towards his own boss on the excuse that it was not his but his subordinate's fault. Thus, responsibility is absolute and flows upwards. Second element of delegation is authority. Authority means power to take decisions. To carry on the responsibilities that have been assigned to him, every employee needs to have adequate authority. So, when responsibilities are assigned to an individual, appropriate authority is also delegated to him so that smooth performance of responsibilities could be assured. Third element of delegation is accountability. Accountability means to be liable for a particular activity or action. This liability gets created because the organization also provides authority to carry out responsibilities. Authority may be in form of decision making for use of organizational resources, etc. Accountability is created to ensure that employees or subordinates achieve the desired results. Performance is measured and compared with the standards under accountability. Like responsibility, accountability is also absolute. It cannot be passed or delegated. A superior cannot escape from his accountability to his own superior even after delegation. Now we will discuss the features of accountability. Features of accountability include: first is accountability is the answerability for the expected result. Second is it cannot be delegated or passed. Third is like responsibility, accountability also flows upwards. Fourth is accountability is not same as blame. Fifth is authority, responsibility, and accountability are interrelated. The figure 3 shows the relationship between responsibility, authority, and accountability. Here we can see that a person who is having a responsibility to increase the sales of the organization by rupees 1 lakh per month, then he is assigned the authority to use the organizational resources to achieve the target, that is, to employ sales force, to fix wages, etc. After that, he is made accountable for the use of his authority. He is accountable for the achievement of the target. Prerequisites of an effective accountability system. For effective accountability system, responsibility should be clearly specified. An employee must know what is expected of him. Second is adequate authority should be provided to meet the assigned responsibilities. Third is individual performance should be measured. Fourth is individual should be made answerable for his performance. Fifth is accountability standards should be consistently applied at all levels. So, students, let us summarize what we have learned in this module. Authority and responsibility and accountability should go together for effective organization. Authority flows downwards, whereas responsibility and accountability flow upwards. Without accountability, individual cannot be held answerable for his performance. Authority, responsibility, and accountability are the three elements of delegation. Delegation enables the superior to share his authority with the subordinates. However, he himself remains accountable to his superior for the performance of the duties assigned. He cannot escape from his responsibility merely by delegating some of the powers vested in him to his subordinate. Thus, accountability is absolute. Thank you.